packed highway in India, but not with traffic. Blocking the road here are hundreds of farmers living in trailers covered with tarp, and most who spoke to the Reuters news agency say they have no plans to break camp and head home. It started in February. Thousands of farmers from the state of Punjab tried to march on the Indian capital, but security forces stopped them more than 120 miles outside their destination. And while many went home, these farmers have stayed and endured a heat wave that's driven temperatures well into the hundreds, some have been sent to nearby hospitals. What do the farmers want? More support from the government and minimum prices for their crops. How has the government responded? It says it's been looking for ways to help farmers, but they say it's dragging its feet. The Indian government has also offered minimum prices for some crops, but the protest leaders want more of them covered. Another dimension to this is that India is in the midst of a 6-week election, likely the biggest democratic exercise ever. And some of these farmers say all the political parties involved have made a lot of promises, but have fallen short on deliveries. Welcome to the world from A to Z with Carl Azuz. I'm Carl Azuz. Thank you for taking the time to watch today. In the Middle East, off the coast of the Palestinian territory of Gaza, a floating pier used for humanitarian aid is being taken down. The U.S. government built the $320 million dock as another way to get supplies to Palestinian civilians who are caught in the crossfire of the war between their leaders in the Hamas militant group and the nation of Israel. But the pier was active for less than 2 weeks before rough seas combined with a storm that moved in from Africa caused it to break apart. And now the sections that need to be fixed or rebuilt are being taken to an Israeli port city. A U.S. official says it'll take more than a week to repair and refloat the pier. It wasn't the only way food and supplies were being transferred into Gaza, but it was an important one. The U.S. military says more than 1,000 tons of aid had passed over the dock before it was damaged. Ships carrying more relief have been delayed, and as far as the war itself goes, there's no sign it'll end anytime soon. An Israeli official said Wednesday it could go on through the rest of the year at least.
Teens are expected to job hunt in a big way this summer, and some key sectors will welcome the help.
Jobs that teens typically usually fill, recreation, food service, a lot of those employers in those sectors are having a hard time filling those roles. And so in some ways, the teen summer surge couldn't come at a better time.
A report by outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas forecasts teens will see an additional 1.3 million jobs in May, June, and July. This, as the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed more than 5.8 million teens between age 16 and 19 employed during the month of April, an increase from about 5.7 million the year prior. Challenger says part of the push is the squeeze of inflation on teens and families. Mark Hamrick, senior economic analyst at Bankrate, says the job market is in their favor.
The good news here is that the job market remains strong. There is more demand for workers than there is supply of workers.
Aaron Terrazas, chief economist at Glassdoor, says employers realize teens won't come to interviews with lengthy resumes, but a teen does need to show up ready to work.
They do want to see is some signal of persistence, dedication, and that this employee is going to be a reliable worker.
And Hamrick says the financial lessons of a summer job can go beyond the workplace.
The experience, not to mention the income that's associated with real work, is something that is very meaningful and important for the development of all young people.
Challenger says that June is traditionally the most popular month for teen hiring, but the time to apply is right now because the competition will really start to heat up after school's let out. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
On this date in world history. A significant event in the 100 Years' War between England and France occurred on May 30th, 1431. The English executed Joan of Arc for heresy. The peasant girl who said she'd been inspired by God had led the French army in tremendous victories. She was captured in 1430, and her execution both made her a martyr and contributed to her heroism among many French who eventually won the war. This was the date in 1911 when the Indianapolis 500 was raced for the first time. A driver named Ray Haroon took home the victory and the $14,250 purse. Haroon's car, the Marmon Wasp, had something unique back then. a rear view mirror, which helped compensate for his not bringing along a mechanic like other drivers. And 11 years after that, in 1922, it was on this date that the Lincoln Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C. It stands as the most visited monument in the U.S. Capitol. We've got merch, y'all! You can now buy the shirt off my back. Well, not this exact shirt, but a new one just like it, along with hoodies, tote bags, coffee mugs. The official World from A to Z store is now open at worldatozorg/store. It'll help spread the word about just how awesome Fridays are. worldatozorg/store.
Word of knowledge. Which of these generations came first? Lost generation, greatest generation, silent generation, baby boomers. A generation named for a sort of aimlessness associated with some survivors of World War I, the lost generation is the oldest on this list.
A little more than 100 years after that generation tried to find its footing, the largest in America today is the millennial generation, people born in the 1980s and 1990s. Many of them are in the market to buy a home, and there's a shortage of available and often affordable houses in cities across the U.S. It's contributed to skyrocketing home prices in recent years. Same thing for rent, and that's made it harder for people who are homeless to find a place to live. But solutions are surfacing through repurposed shipping containers.
For Cheryl Freeman, it's hard to forget about her time living on the streets, but it's a stress that won't keep her awake anymore.
I don't have to worry about staying up all night trying to protect myself and my things. I know I'm safe.
Thanks to a shipping container, Freeman finally has a sense of security in her new home.
And that's what I do every time I go in there. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine.
The opening of the Melody, a neighborhood filled with shipping containers converted into tiny homes, marks an important step for the city of Atlanta and its homeless population. One that was fast-tracked due to the increased need and prolonged construction timelines for traditional buildings.
We received a call from the Georgia Emergency Management Agency who said, we have containers that have been used as ICU rooms around the state of Georgia during COVID that we are ready to donate to somebody.
Today, there are 40 units available for people to call home.
I've got a chance here with a new beginning.
A report by the Department of Housing and Urban Development found there were more than 12,000 people homeless in Georgia in 2023, a 15% increase from the year before. Across the country, the report also found more than 650,000 people were experiencing homelessness on one night in January 2023. A 12% increase from the year prior. It's those staggering numbers that's prompted other organizations to get creative and take matters into their own hands.
You have the walls, you have the floor, you have the ceiling, and I could not find another way that we could get the walls, the ceiling, and the floor for the amount of money that a shipping container is.
Transforming them into affordable housing for teens aging out of foster care. Benz hopes this will set an example for similar communities across the country.
The Badger State of Wisconsin is our next stop this Thursday. Mr. Zalewski's class is there. Great to be running with the Mustangs of Mahone Middle School from the city of Kenosha. Out west in the Golden State of California, it's Mr. Robison's or Mr. Robison's class that's with us from E.O. Green Junior High. Great to see the Hornets in the city of Oxnard. And from the Gem State, watching from Payette Lakes Middle School, we welcome Mrs. Minshaw's class and the Vikings of McCall, Idaho. Yesterday was World Otter Day, which for some incredible reason we didn't know was coming up. But perhaps this Weasley wascal did. Otter 841, what it's known by through its tracking device, made a name for itself last summer when it would take over and attack surfboards in California. The mischievous marine mammal amassed a cult following, and after a few months away, it recently returned to the waters of Santa Cruz, just in time for World Otter Day. It sure is good fodder for an otter, otter-ly, otter-worldly smottering of otterous and almost unutterable puns. Yes, we love to badger you with them, weaseling in as many as we can mink of, but we hope you'll still get Wolverine to an otter edition of the world from A to Z. After all, otter things have happened. I'm Carl Azuz, always thankful to be spending my day with you. You are the best part of what we do, and you mean the world to me.